Y'all see them shoulders shaking? Y'all see them shoulders? It's Healing Tuesday. All right. So I'm excited. I've had a little of a challenging day, which was odd, but then we just discovered the issue. I'm not going to tell you what it was because Varg is over here laughing. And tonight, he's kind of on standby to jump into the live, show his face and have a conversation. You guys know you don't see him that often because that's not something he does. But I'm going to tell a little story. I asked him, will you do this with me tonight? He was like, nope. When I was like, hey, slow down. And then he was like, okay, wait, what are we doing? So I have him on standby. He does not like the camera. He does not. So I have my husband on standby because I'm the kind of woman who, when I'm speaking about topics, hey, how are you? Cece, she said, Cece, unapologetic. When I'm talking about specific topics, I want to have a male's perspective in the room. And this particular topic is coming from some of the cases that I've had, some of the people I've talked to, and I recognize something. They're stuck. And way too often their cases don't pan out. Right now, we are at 86%, 85 to 86% success rate. We've been higher when it comes to our reunites, but we've had some challenges because people get stuck. What are they stuck in? They're stuck in the idea that this is not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair that this is happening to me. Well, thank you for that share. I appreciate that. This isn't fair. And so when it's not fair, they get caught in the matrix, I'm going to call it tonight. They get caught and they can't quite get out of it. And I've seen it a lot with men who are going through parental alienation. I've seen it with single moms. I've seen it with fatherless children. Anyone associated with fatherlessness, I have seen this whole idea of life isn't fair and this isn't fair and I shouldn't be. And when we get stuck there, it's hard for us to figure out how to get unstuck because there's some things that get in the way. And I want to talk to you guys about that tonight. When life isn't fair, it wasn't fair that your dad wasn't present and he was absent and that he left your life. It wasn't fair that your parents got a divorce. It wasn't fair that your mother was abusive. It isn't fair at all that you're being alienated from your children and being forced out. But do we sit in the place of this is unfair? Or do we find a way to move forward in wholeness, in healing, in completion, in positivity, in not being the victim? And because when you get stuck in this place of it's not fair, you then become the victim in this very weird way. Look, Tokyo's trying to, what are you doing? You just gonna sit right there? You normally go underneath the sign. You say hi, say I had a bath. So this is our emotional support dog. He's my emotional support personally, as I've learned. And then he's my clients. He's emotional support for my clients. So I want you guys to think about the situation that's unfair to you. Oh, we're going to get into that in just a moment. Gabriel, I believe that's how you say that. I want you to think about the situation that you felt is unfair, unjust. What does that look like for you right now? Do you guys have any of that going on right now? I want to define unfair to you because I believe that definitions mean a whole lot. So unfair is not based on or behaving according to the principles of equality and justice. Unkind, inconsiderate, or unreasonable. Not following the rules of the game or sport. Come on, somebody. Like, I see a bunch of yeses on here. We've all got some stuff. Hey, Sarah, it's good to see you. We all have some stuff that's unfair. When I first, kept trying to figure out what I was going to talk about, I'm getting prepared to minister in Dallas this week, and I have a pretty strong message that I'm speaking. And my husband was like, well, why don't you give him a teaser for that? Why don't you talk about unforgiveness? And this whole thing with this client has just been swirling in my chest and in my heart. And I said, I think I need to talk about this tonight, because when life is unfair, we can't quite grasp it. Especially, look, can I go somewhere with y'all tonight? When you grow up spiritual and you grow up being told, if you follow these rules, guidelines, commandments, then all of this will happen to you and for you. And when it doesn't, it makes you spiral. Been there. Hey, John, how are you? It makes you spiral. I need us to understand, and the longer you've had some type of affiliation with faith and spirituality, you learn that at some point, but it takes a moment. And once you learn it, you're hurt, you're devastated, you're disappointed. And I will tell you, for me, disappointment is one of the hardest things to overcome. But when I think about this whole thing of being unfair, I'm going to share some real personal stuff with you guys tonight about my journey of being unfair, because when something like this or something unfair happened to me, I then had to go through a grieving process. I didn't even realize I was grieving. Someone said something to me. Hey, Catherine. Someone said something on a phone call that I had, and she was talking about a death, and she was referring to that. And when she said it, this death, and that she was grieving, and grief happens, it hit me that I was grieving the death of what I thought was reality. I was grieving the death of what I thought should happen if I follow these rules, if I'm a good person, if I am, following the game according to the rules. My husband, I'm gonna tell you, he teaches me. I still cringe, but he's a rule breaker. He's a rule breaker. And I used to be like, we not. And then we cut the line and we get in and we be just fine. It was like, no one's standing here. Do we need to weave through the entire thing, Tori? Well, yeah, because the lines are there. But why can't we just unhook this and walk through? Because no one's there. We're not stepping in front of anyone. That's how much I follow the rules. And following the rules have gotten me in trouble. And I see unfairness. I see it. Growing up without my father. Some people may say that that's not a big deal because it happens to a lot of us. One of the things that came out during my coaching call last night actually, generational curses. Oh, Tokyo, his stomach is growling. Generational curses get worse with each generation. You know why? Because we have normalized it by the second and third generation. So by the time you see a young lady having a child at 14 and 15 years old, you can look back and see her mother did it, her grandmother did it, her great grandmother did it. And now it's no big deal. It's no big deal because we've normalized it, and we've normalized dysfunction. And a lot of bad things can happen to us. A lot of unfair things can happen to us. Things that are unjust, things that are, when I thought about that last night when I was on my coaching call, I was like, that is, and I used scripture. And as I was talking about the different people, we were talking about David. We got into David being lustful and how the lust passed on to his son Samuel. And he really took it to a whole nother level. But Jesse had his own set of issues concerning that. Then we talk about Jacob being the trickster, and then how that continued to morph into his life. And he got tricked into the woman that he wanted to marry, but he got tricked into marrying another lady and then had to work for the one he wanted. And then that same level of trickster played out in his son's life because they tricked him into believing Joseph was dead, tricked Joseph into going, sold him into slavery. And he went through this whole life of unfairness. And then that unfairness finally was healed through Joseph. And Joseph was the one who delivered the family. But trust me when I say, how long did that take? And then the one that I talk about as well was Moses. Moses was pulled out of a basket, delivered into the hands of Pharaoh. but then was called to deliver his people. See, we have to pay attention to how we enter this earth and how we come into this earth. And those things will play out in our lives. And I will always say, parents, those of you who have children, you've grown up fatherless, you have children, and the children aren't with their fathers, or fathers, you are absent from your children's lives. You've got to convey the proper information so that your children don't repeat these cycles. So let's get into unfairness. Let's get into this a little bit deeper, because I want you to know that when life isn't fair, we can overcome that. There's hope to overcoming it. Hey, Becca, how are you? There's ways to overcome it. And as I get into this conversation a little bit deeper, I want to know, can you guys just type in a few words of some of the unfairness that you've experienced, that you are still trying to figure out, how do I deal with it? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a couple, I want to read this quote to you, but I want to tell you that the number one thing for you to do, the first thing you got to do, is identify the problem. You got to identify the problem. So before I get into my steps here, this is a quote that I found earlier. If you expect the world to be fair with you because you are fair, you're fooling yourself. That's like expecting the lion not to eat you because you didn't eat him. That's a statement.
Can you repeat that?
If you expect the world to be fair with you because you are fair, you're fooling yourself. That's like expecting the lion not to eat you because you didn't eat him. That's foolishness. Uh-oh. Did my computer go off? Am I black screen? Do you?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm a black screen over here. I don't know what's going on. Let's see what's happening. Oh, I'm going to keep talking. Okay. But,
You're still talking.
okay.
You're still on.
Having to face reality that I'm going to be a single mom. Come on. That's a real thing, Cher. Okay. Let's talk about that. Cece, my husband passed away a month ago, and it was a shock for me. I feel like it's unfair in the way it happened. Let me put these up here, because you guys need to touch and agree with your people who are on here, your tribe. We are a tribe, and I didn't even get into that. How about this? I'm Dr. Tori J. I just jumped in, and I want you to share. I know Cher actually shared with Cece Unapologetic, but share, because tonight is for us. Tonight is for us to come together and be a tribe together so that we can help one another. This is powerful, to be able to tell us what you feel is unfair. And I thank you for speaking your truth, even as sensitive and as, like that's a lot to share. So I'm thankful, Cece, that you said that. And Cher says, having to face reality that I'm going to be a single mom. See, that's a tough one. Then we have, oh no, she said, we got that again. I'm sorry. If you expect the world to be fair, oh, she put that back up. Because you are fair, you are fooling yourself. Absolutely. Gabriel, corrupt family court. Yep, that's a big one. That's a big one. Loving a good man and father that's dealing with alienation. It's heartbreaking to love my stepsons and feel as I can't protect my husband and my stepsons. See, this is where, like, now that you've identified part of the issue, right? This is the problem. But the big thing, oh, thank you, John. I appreciate that. He said, nope. You're an inspiration. We need more people like you. Thank you. It's not easy always. Getting diagnosed with cancer. See, all of these are real moments. All of these are moments. All of these are things that we want. We don't want them to be. We want them to go away. So number one, as Sheree put on here, identifying the problem. Way too often, I see a problem identified, but I don't see the problem identified. And I definitely don't see the root cause of the problem identified. I need us to look at ourselves, and I need us to look in the mirror. I need us to self-examine. I need us to dig deep. One of the things I read this afternoon and this evening about dealing with unfairness. It said, you have to be ruthless in looking for the root cause of the problem. You stop at nothing. And even if you have to point the finger at yourself, at least you've identified it. It's not always easy implicating yourself. Linda says, court orders not being followed and parent not being held in contempt. Yep. And then with COVID happening, that's a whole nother thing. My girlfriend feels the same way, helpless. Yeah. My husband's mother was emotionally manipulative and it spilled over into our relationship. It took years to correct. The brokenness and all the toxic that comes with it, the bitterness, the unnecessary loss, time, and energy. It's time for you to focus on you. One of the things I've made sure of during COVID is that Tori healed the broken places that she had been too busy to heal. I had been busy helping you guys reunite and heal and do all these things that I wasn't taking the time for myself. I would deal with certain situations and then I would patch some stuff up and then other stuff I would sweep under the rug because by the time it was bubbling up to the surface, I'd have to go out of town and do another reunite or speaking engagement or whatever. And I had to really sit down the first 6 months of COVID. And I had to really stop and deal with me. Oh yeah, Linda, I get it. That's an article that I'm trying to finish up to discuss this. COVID, oh my God, COVID is being used as an excuse to stop all visits. Absolutely. Healing is necessary. True, Cherie, but we can't heal until we identify. We can't heal until we identify. And so let's identify some of the places that we've been hurt. The grief I want to go into. So dealing with this particular client, even with them talking to the attorney, they stayed on a loop, right? They stayed on a loop. We would talk to him about what was real and what wasn't real. And he'd say, but I'm not a convict. I'm not a this, I'm not a that. And I have witnesses and he would say all of that. And we go, that's not what is going to matter in this situation. We need for you to pull that back, rein back all of that, and we need to deal with the facts. And he would hear us, and then 5 seconds later he'd go, but no, I'm not a convict. I work a job. I pay my child support. And he would go right back to it. I'm not happy to say, and to share this, but he lost yesterday. He lost his case. He lost, and they placed a TPO. They took a TPO and made it a protection order. It will be overturned because they don't have jurisdiction to do that. But we couldn't, the attorney was like, I'm not taking that case. The attorney said, yes, she would take it. And I'm giving you the truth here. She said, yes, I'll take the case. But then once she talked to him, did the Zoom call and saw him and his antics and all of that. And she was like, he's going to lose because he's not listening to me. We're going to get into that in a moment. He's not allowing me to truly help him because he's stuck in his mind as to how it should actually be and how unfair it is. We couldn't get him to move, you guys, off of the fact that it was unfair. And when you get stuck in it's unfair, you lose. You lose. Not just court cases, you lose in every area of your life.
You said, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you said,
I don't know if they can hear you, so you may need to come closer. This is the person who doesn't want to necessarily be on camera. Sherry said he thought that I and all women operated the same. It was hurtful. See? Go ahead.
That kind of goes into my little statement or my question. He thought because he wasn't this, because he wasn't that it should be a certain way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Cherie said we hear him. Yeah, but we all do that, don't we? I followed the rules. I did what I was told to do. I followed the good book. I was a good Christian girl and boy, and it didn't go paying out the way that I was told, and so now I feel it's unfair.
I'm specifically talking about his case.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
So he thought because I'm not a convict, because I work a job, because I can provide for my kid,
and because I never called her, they don't have proof. because
of this, because I didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's unfair that I have to jump through hoops.
Yes.
To see my child.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I wasn't a convict. I wasn't this, and I wasn't that.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I had to jump through a few hoops to make sure that I could see your
daughter. Mm-hmm.
It's not fair, but it is what it is. And coming from a man's perspective, and you said it earlier when we were talking, you have clients that would do anything, sleep in trailers. I know one client is sleeping in a trailer. One client is sleeping at his dad's house to do anything to get to see their kid. Because it sounds like this guy is just prideful.
We're going to talk about that. So I hope you guys heard him. Cherie said you guys could hear him. My husband John said you're spot on. So there was you could definitely hear him. He came close to he don't want to be on camera, y'all.
I haven't done my hair.
His hair messed up. Get out of here. Y'all would not believe that my husband it's the only thing he really cares about. He don't care about nothing else. He'd be like, my hair is messed up. But anyway, let's get back to the seriousness. And Cher said, when you get stuck and it's unfair, you lose. She was like, whoa. Yeah, that's a real thing. He's spot on. It's hard to get out of the mindset of something is unfair, but it hurts to be stuck there too. Isn't that the crazy part? That is the crazy part, right? Because you're stuck, but you gotta, and it hurts, and it's all this. And that's why I told you I had to grieve the death of the reality that I thought was supposed to be. Like, this isn't what I was promised. How many of you can raise your hand to that? I was promised it was going to be this way. I was promised that it was going to pan out like this. If I went to college and I got my degree and I did all of this, it was going to pan out and I would get my job and I'll be able to buy a house. And ain't none of that working for any of us. It's worked for a few of us, but with COVID, some things have changed, people. And Cherie said, hoops, good analysis. Yeah, my husband can tell you. See, everybody raising their hand. They like, yep, it didn't pan out that way. Some of that is generational. Some of that is stuff that we've got to now work through. So, number one, identify the problem. Get ruthless about it. Even look at yourself. Even look at you see that comment, Mark? I'm going to put it up there in a minute. Take a good look at yourself. Self-examination is key. How did you get in the situation? How'd you get here? Was it solely the other person's part? Are they the only one who contributed? My child's mother is a convict of child abuse. So why am I considered a threat to my child? Is it really just pride? No, we didn't say just pride, but we're referring to the gentleman in that situation where he couldn't get out of even when we were talking, I was coaching him, the attorney was speaking to him, and he just wouldn't. And even up till yesterday, he still went in that courtroom and did what we told him not to do. And he lost and he was still texting me last night after he lost. But I'm not a convict, but I'm not a this. And I had 6 characteristics, and she had no one. It is so much bigger than that. It is so much bigger than that. Linda says, I have clients who are stuck in the anger and trying to guide them to do their work so they are in a healthier place when going to court. Yes, they are justified for their anger and frustration, but it cripples their process in court. Linda, I'm going to leave this up here for a minute. That is the truth for so many of you. That's why we started the men's room, and I'm so grateful. You guys, I have been on these counselors and therapists and coaches, and I'm like, if you guys don't get in there and start posting stuff, I'm a strangle y'all. And one of my therapists, he's going to do a talk, ego versus the best interest of the child. We talked about this. So I already know where it's going to go. And I was like, get in there for 15 to 30 minutes and engage with the men. This is why we need you to get into the men's room and actually engage. There's some questions and some stuff put in there today. I need you to engage, men. Ladies, I'm coming for you. You got to let me get this up. It's a little harder to get the men to engage as much as I thought it would be easy when they were in a private room. They're still hesitant. But I want you guys to know that What Linda is saying is true, trying to guide you to do your work so that you're in a healthier place. Is it fair that you're being taken through this? No. Is it fair that you can't see your children? No. Is it fair that COVID is being used as a way of keeping you from your children? No, but it's your reality. So this is your problem. How did I get here? What did I do? Did I do everything right? Did I listen to all of the signs that told me not to get with this person? No. If you're honest, you didn't. You didn't. My dads will tell me this all the time. Nope. Yeah, Cher, just give me a second. I haven't done anything in there, so give me a second, and I promise you, you'll get approved. And I'm trying to approve all the men who are requesting, and I'm proud. I am so proud, men. We're almost at, what, 150? Yeah, we're almost at 150 men in that group. So I'm very proud of the men who are lining up to do it. It is what it is mindset, but it doesn't have to end that way. And see, that's the hard part, because our brains don't adjust to it is what it is. My brain didn't adjust when I had to grieve all of that. I love that one. This wasn't promised. Having my first child doesn't fit my fantasy or plan. I'm thankful, but I was angry at first. I think mostly afraid. See, Sherry, you're like my mother. When I interviewed her and talked to her about what was it like when you found out you were pregnant, she was like, well, I was happy, but I was scared. And I had all these different emotions, and I had all of these different feelings about it, because she knew she was going to be a single mother. So what do you do when the cards that are being dealt to you right now is you're going to be a single mother? Go ahead, Var.
I was gonna say you.
And I'm gonna tell you right now. John said, "Tell him to do his hair." LMAO. John wants you in the camera. I don't know how he's gonna fit in here, because my desk is like an L shape and it wraps around. But I want you. Hey, Chris. I want you to recognize that. How did you get here? What signs did you ignore? Not the blame game, but as I saw Catherine say earlier, take responsibility for your part. Because that's the soul work that even Catherine is saying now. You've got to take responsibility for your part, whatever that is. It's not blaming yourself, but you're also, don't put yourself in the victimhood either. Oh my God, no, I didn't. I knew he wasn't right. Yeah, see, we know, but we still walk down that I'm falling in love. I had to tell one of my clients during coaching, we don't fall in love. We make a choice to be in love. We make a choice to commit to love, especially in the midst of us having brokenness and other stuff. We don't do that. Stepmoms. What do you mean, Catherine? I'm sorry, I missed something in the midst of that. How or what is this group you're talking about? Would love to be a part of that, as I'm an alienated grandmother and my son continues to go through this. Well, Linda, you got to find, it's in our group, and it's called the ladies' room is the one for the women. Ladies, stop trying to get into the men's room. I think I accidentally let a lady in today, but I promise you, she's going to get booted out. Both rooms are specifically designed to give you mental health professionals free of charge. They're going to come in, they're going to ask questions. Really? You did not come on my live with a mask on, and I'm done with you. So both of them are to help you concerning mental health. So I have one psychotherapist, 2 therapists, and a life coach in the men's room. And I'm working on doing the same for the women's or the ladies' room, I'm sorry. And in doing that, it gets you to the place of wholeness and healing without having to pay for it. As much as I need it, y'all can donate at tfgf.org, all you'd like. As much as I need it, I know that you guys need the healing. I have watched people go through court, and I'm like, they're going to lose today because they can't get out of this. They can't get out of the rut. They can't get out of saying how unfair it is. And it is unfair, but it doesn't mean that you can't overcome that. That's why I said number 1 is identifying it. Number 2 is crafting a solution. Now, between 1 and 2, there's this thing called ego. And Vark was hinting to it a moment ago when we were talking. This is where we can get stuck. Our ego tends to hinder us from working the plan and getting to the place of plan and solution. How you overcome the problem is you actually start figuring out a plan. What does that look like? What is the solution? Oh, good one, Becca. Unfair doesn't mean unsolvable. Hold on, I got to go back up here because Colin said a mouthful. I missed a court date after 7 months of pain and expensive attorney, but her attorney kept charging during a divorce and custody, and now I have to pay her attorney fees due to the botched divorce decree. Yep. She was granted restrictions of all my rights because I couldn't attend court dates halfway across the country, and 1 year later was charged with 2 counts of child abuse. My children are at risk of being in the system, but I was in my children's lives and have been fighting for years. Let me tell you something. That's the stuff that we hear all day, every day. And when people try to tell me fathers don't want to be present and fathers don't want to do this and that, I'm like, no, I hear too many situations and too many cases where they want to be, but they're fighting up against something that is, it feels like it's a losing battle. And how do we help dads win? How do we help parents win? Single mothers, all fatherless children. We help you win by healing you. We help you win by teaching you and giving you tools to overcome the challenges that you're having being raised in a fatherless home. Or many of you who are dealing with this were not raised with your father, or you had a father in the home and he wasn't emotionally present. Period. So that's just what it is. She said, shouldn't be falling in love, should be growing in love. Most things that fall break. Ooh, good one. That's a good one. See, Charles, we think with the wrong head and with emotions, so the signs are ignored. Yeah, all the red flags, you ignore them. And now you're in a situation that you got to deal with. I'm going to leave this one up here because Becca said it. Unfair doesn't mean unsolvable. That's where we're at. Crafting the solution. Thank you, Cherie, for putting these up here. I'm crafting a solution. What's the solution? After you identify the problem and the root of it and taking responsibility for your part, now what's the next thing? Now, my husband was saying earlier about his daughter and how he had to do some of the stuff that many of you, jumping through hoops. How did you feel about jumping through those hoops?
Oh, I didn't like it at all. I don't like people telling me what to do. You know.
Oh, that. Yeah. He says, don't tell me what to do.
I don't like that.
I'll be like, and he'd like, don't tell me what to do.
But my personal opinions needed to be pushed to the side for me to have for me to have access to my daughter. So when a man says his personal opinions have to be pushed aside in order for him to have access to his daughter, that means you don't walk into the situation doing things that you know triggers the person that is giving you access to your children. We're not telling you to roll over and play dead. What we're telling you is you got to figure out what game they're playing and play that. The gentleman who I had to deal with, he's an athlete. And typically he would have to size up his opponent. And he kept saying, I don't get how she's getting away with this. And I told him multiple times on multiple occasions, she's lying. He was too much on the defense when he should have been on the offense.
Thank you. And the more I kept saying she's lying, and then she got on the stand and lied on yesterday, you guys. And he was like, and I said, see, you used to have to size up your opponent. And you didn't even size up your opponent in this court situation. She lied and cried. And unfortunately, that's one of the ways he lost. When you craft your solution, you have to craft it according to the opponent. One of the things that I saw, oh no, that's for another number. But it's important for me to say when I get to it. I promise you, I'm a focus and I'm a lean real hard into it, because when ego gets involved, and Vark, like he said, you have to be on the offensive. He was too much on the defensive. We learned that when we were studying the armor of God. That most of the armor, we Bible people, y'all, we love the Bible, and I'm a believer. I don't necessarily go by a denomination at all. I'm crazy like that. I don't know, but I'm a believer in the sense of when we were reading this, the scripture in Ephesians 6, and it was talking about the armor of God. When you study it, you realize that most of the armor is offensive. It's an offensive weapon. It's not as much defensive as you would think if you're fighting a war, right? My husband, he got all the devices on. He's a good support system. I appreciate him. Linda, I see you here. Linda says, I'm a life skills coach, counselor, and advocate, and would love to help in any way I can. I will direct my son to your men's group. He's healing it and wanting to be a speaker. He has a power he has no idea he has. Well, Linda, join the women's, the ladies' room, and then you and I will talk offline about any way that I can use you to coach and help the women in that process, because I want to always have a life coach in both groups to help men not only deal, because I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist. I want both parties to get the tools, but someone to coach them up to the next place every single time. So I appreciate you offering your services. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Cherie said, no problem. Charles says, it's exhausting and will drive even the most devoted father crazy and eventually have to make a decision for their sanity.
When it gets to that point, Charles, you have to make that decision. What's more important, your sanity or someone else's comfort level?
And staying in the fight.
Right.
Sometimes you have to get reprieve so that the fight doesn't exhaust you and wear you out. Because you could be winning the battle, but you then lose because of exhaustion. And I believe, like what's his name? The gentleman who was talking.
Who couldn't make it to court. Who was
exhausted. Colin, you will have been exhausted. And I believe that's one of the tactics that I've seen attorneys use, is they wear a person out. They delay. And then the dad runs out of money because with every delay, he still has to pay his attorney. And eventually he can't afford his attorney anymore. And then he is in a position where he has no attorney. Hey, Ike, he said, child support advocate on deck. I promise you, as I get all of these things scheduled, you're going to be one of my conversations on Thursdays. And
I just like the name Ike.
I know why you like the name Ike.
Eat the cake.
Yeah, see? No. Becca says Dwayne had to make that decision. He had to make that decision. Sometimes you got to make that decision to pull back for a season. Because also that's setting boundaries for the person who's causing you pain. I'm going to in a moment, yeah. You have to pull back because this person, where's my boundaries book? Oh, it's over. No, it's over there. No. I had to do the, and I'm doing the curriculum. We're both fatherless individuals. And maybe one day that's the call. That's the thing we'll do.
Oh, I'm on right now. I'm not making any more promises.
People like to hear from you, love. And he's wearing his A5A hat right up in here. But I want you guys, boundaries are key. And sometimes you got to step back and give it a breather. It's what the scripture is talking about when it says that the hearts of the fathers will be turned back to their children. Why? What do you mean turn back? Because sometimes you got to turn it down in order to make it, in order to cope in society. And some of you aren't doing so well because if you feel like if you turn your love down, if you back away for a moment, then that means you don't love your child. But how about it's destroying you? How about it's destroying you? I'm going to get to number 3 in a minute. I did not explain my last post properly after I heard you speak. Okay. My children's mother is on 2 child abuse charges, one after she botched lied with no evidence in my divorce custody case. Once I lost my attorney after 7 months of paying her for 7 months in 2007. I spent 6 years prior of trying to get a divorce, but it took 4 months to restrict my rights to my children to nothing. And now my son and daughter are at risk of being in Illinois foster care. Okay, I get where you're going with it. I do. And so now you have to now do the work, I guess, to go get them. Is that what you're saying, Colin? That now you've got to go prove that you're going to get him. You can go get them. Oh no, dealing with abusive and toxic person can jump through tons of hoops. Boundaries are key. See, there's a healthy balance that I think jumping through hoops is one thing. I think dads do jump through hoops, even when they're present with their children. I watch dads do things for their children. He does things for me that I'm like, can you go do? And I have to always thank him for that, because he caters to me. He does. Would you say?
I didn't say anything.
Would you say you cater to me?
Oh, absolutely. Tired.
You are not tired.
Exhausted.
It's not like that. You are not my maid or my slave. We're not talking about that. No, but he caters to me. If and I had to tell him this yesterday. If I'm like, and I was hurting today too. And he's like, are you okay? Do you need anything? What do you want to eat for dinner? Like he's trying to help my day be easier, especially if I'm in pain from something. And I can totally appreciate that level of support. But us even being, like I was saying a moment ago, we are two fatherless individuals, and we got the curriculum boundaries in marriage that I've read part of it, and I've got to go through it, and I want us to do it together so that we can set healthy boundaries even in our own marriage. Because growing up fatherless, you still have your own level of toxic stuff that you're healing from. And some of us haven't even started the process of healing, right? Some of us haven't even gotten there. And Colin, I know that your situation is bad. It's become, he said, I explain more, but my case has become complicated and long-winded. And the more complicated that case becomes, the more exhausted you become. My real name is Isaac Cook, descendant of Sam Cook from Clarksdale, Mississippi. I don't know. Now I'm not aware. He said Sam Cook. Are we talking about the singer Sam Cook?
He's talking about the singer Sam Cook.
Are you talking about the singer Sam Cook? Okay, I'm just going. Must surround yourself with good, godly people who can speak positive in your life. See, Dwayne, you jump into my number. You already on number 4. Yeah, you already on number 4. Who can speak positive in and about your life. I've been stuck in the blind, bitter, negative attitude after 359 days of alienation. However, I've been making huge progress in my self-healing, which wasn't possible without the Lord. Come on, Dwayne. Now, days away from a year since I saw my son, I've grown so much that I'm truly grateful for all the dark and lonely heartbreak, the trauma and depression in the past year, because I now know that God is preparing. See, these cut off, so I'm hoping I'm saying everything. I'm hoping I see everything. Let me tell you something. Dwayne just preached a whole sermon right there. Because so many of you are stuck in ego. You're like, nah, I'm not trying to do any self-healing. I just need my children. But how about when your children come back, you'll be better? How about you do some work so that when your children, when you do get the opportunity, that you're not seething and you're not angry, you don't have all of that going on. You got your hair showing and it ain't gone. How about that? Dwayne, I can drop the mic right now and get off of here. His ex was ruining our marriage. We had to walk away. Girl, you ain't got to tell me. I know how those things go. God's time. Yeah. So he says, what if he's using the child as a pawn in his game of life? That's what's happening for most people. Most people are in a situation where the person is using the child because they know that that's how they can get to you. So the moment you cut off their power, they can no longer use that. And I'm not saying cut off your children, but I'm saying lay boundaries. Boundaries are very clear. Those are the consequences. Most court orders are supposed to be the boundary. But as we know, they don't enforce that. They don't enforce it. Yes, John, I made him say it. I wanted to make sure I was like, I'm not doing that, am I? Pulling back for a season is okay. My son had to do this to heal and regain his strength. Absolutely. See, there's some things I know, and there's some things I know. And I see how being in the fight that for long periods of time destroys people. It destroys you. And you're in the fight so much, you can't even get to identify the problem. You can't even see past what that is. You can only see the enemy, your ex, and how they're using the child, whether that's male or female. She says, yes, the false guilt of taking this time for himself almost took his life. But by the grace of God, he focused and ready now. I always say, be gentle with yourself during the storm. That's a good one. Cher says, what did you mean by be in the offense and not the defense? So Cher, I'm going to give you an assignment. I want you to go study the armor of God, because we think that the armor of God is defensive. Do you remember some of the stuff? Mm-hmm, some of the stuff.
Yeah,
to help her with this question.
Let's see here. Let me go to my.
Because the sword is clearly a defensive weapon, right?
No.
You didn't think the sword was defensive?
No, I thought the sword was offensive.
You thought it was, see?
Because you attack with the sword. You can, of course, block, but that's how most people see it. Because, oh, devil, stop beating me up. Nah, take that.
But that's a fight. Okay.
No, that's not a fight. That's getting the devil before he gets you. Offense. That's my interpretation.
I'm not mad about you. That's your interpretation.
Right. Whether that be through prayer or fasting or whatever you do in preparing for a battle, you do that.
Because we have the breastplate of righteousness. It's a covering. We had the belt of truth. It was very interesting that the belt holds up the breastplate. And then you get into the helmet of salvation, which is protecting your mind, your thoughts, what you believe. That's not like, do you realize that the helmet is offensive? It keeps you, it protects you, what's coming in. The breastplate, you can't use that to fight.
It's too heavy.
You can't.
I think you discovered that in the Roman days, it was just too heavy. It was heavy.
And then the belt, and the reason I'm saying this right now for you is we're just trying to give you a quick little idea on how what seems to be, I should be defensive, you may need to take the offensive, because maybe the tools that you've been given are really for the offensive, but you're so focused on being defensive that you can't win the battle that way. But here we have, what are
I'm sorry.
The breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth. 10. 6 through 10.
No, it's not that.
It's right there.
Right.
Having your loins guarded about truth, having the breastplate of righteousness, your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Your feet must be peaceful. How do you find peace in the midst of chaos? Where's your center?
I did, Charles. I got distracted.
He did. Where's your center? Finding peace. When I have to find my notes, and I'll have to try to send them to you.
Shield of faith.
The shield of faith. I'm just blocking. I'm protecting my body. I'm protecting what you're trying to bring at me. I'm protecting all of that. And I think that's where we miss it. You can't always be in the fight. You just can't. So Cher, I'm going to tell you, you may think that you need to be on the defensive, but you may need to focus on the offensive. And just simply go look up what those words mean. And then see, I'm done with you and Ike. I just saw that, Ike. I can't deal with y'all right now. Y'all are too much. I want you guys to just recognize, and let me get through these because we already at 9:52.
Okay.
Number 3 is work the plan. So once you identify the problem, get to the root of it, be ruthless about it. You then craft a solution. You get out of ego. You move out of ego. Let ego get out of the way. Ego's going to hinder you. Number 3, you work the plan that you've now crafted, the solution. No plan survives contact with the enemy. That's the thing that I was saying earlier that I needed to bring up. No plan survives contact with the enemy is a quote I found earlier. So you telling everybody your stuff? Don't do that. A lot of times I see fathers like, oh, I'm working with the Fatherless Generation Foundation and they're giving me an attorney. And no. because they don't think you have any money left. And so when you show up with an attorney, they're like, how did you get an attorney? Move in silence. Move peacefully. You don't have to tell people what's going on, because by the time you tell them your plans, they will destroy your plan.
Because now they can prepare for what you have been doing.
Yes.
So now you're back on the defense.
Now you're back on, see?
Man, let me go. Come on, Tokyo. Let's go for a walk.
Always be prepared to alter your course. Some of you aren't prepared. I wasn't prepared when things happen. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. I'm not prepared.
Keep your mouth shut.
Press through difficulties. Press through. She's saying, Cece goes, so for people who don't have any issues, how do we move forward when we have gone through something traumatic? You have to give us, oh, you've given us, I'm sorry. I'm going. I have 5, Cece, so I'm just getting there. She's like, you've only given us 2. The armor of God is protecting us at all times. Place all your worries on him and not always respond to negativity. Absolutely, Cece. Absolutely. But the way you get to do that, right? Place all your worries on him and not always respond. That's why if you want to work your plan, that's what you have to do right there. Because if you get focused on the other stuff, you won't be able to work your plan. You won't be able to do it. The shield of faith. What do you believe? What's true for you? What's true for you? Yeah, he got distracted. I see where he's saying. Becca said, you got to be 5 steps ahead. Absolutely. Never let them see you sweat. Never show them your cards. Catherine said, that's what has honestly saved my sanity in this. God's armor is protecting us. People will try to tell you anything and they will lie to you and make you want to believe their lie. Don't do it. Even when you lose, still doesn't mean it's not a lie. Don't fall into agreement with a lie just because you have some court order that says that you did this or that, or you can't see your children. You know the truth. You know the truth. So Cece, let's talk about this. She said, that's what I learned when my husband passed. His family was threatening me and blaming me. I decided to be still. Peace, be still. Yeah. People are going to lie. People are going to cheat. People are going to steal. And Cece, you have a situation that's very delicate. Your husband died. All of a sudden, you had no idea what was coming. And now you have to live with this. My suggestion to you is you've got to go through the 7 stages of grief, my love. What I'm talking about tonight, nope, it's not fair. But I said it from the beginning. And I didn't know I was speaking to you, but I believe I was speaking to you. You've got to grieve the death that has happened in your life. And if you don't hit those steps, you will find yourself in an even worse situation. We want you to go through this process. And I am here. You can email us. I will do the best I can to reach out to you. After this weekend, I'm pretty much settled. I'm not traveling anymore, as far as I know, for the rest of the year. So I'm sitting tight. So I have a little bit more time. I need to say that I need you to grieve. I need you to grieve. And don't let his family distract you from what you need to do. Thank you, Cherie, for number 3. She said, work your plan. That's working your plan. I'm going to get to number 4 in a moment. It's interesting to me about our life pathology. I'm a fatherless daughter. My son is a fatherless son. Now my granddaughters are following being fatherless daughters. We need to recognize the pattern and correct this. 3 generations. I said that at the beginning of this conversation. If you pay attention, and this is the work that we're doing in my Beyond Fatherless coaching this week, the general coaching group, we are doing the work of identifying negative patterns that come from our families. And Linda just dropped the mic on that. And I wanted them to talk about the 3 generations that it's happened to their family. And they were able to identify it. What'd you see?
I just accidentally clicked on CC's profile and she's from Dallas. Does she live in Dallas?
CC, oh yeah, but I think these are people from the conference. CC and,
Oh,
and Cher, yeah.
So,
Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Absolutely, I see it now. Is old, yeah, yeah. I'm catching up on the comments. Dwayne, the devil is using holidays to stir up my emotions and trauma to recreate or worsen my reactions during these holidays. This year, I rebuke and I'm running to God. See, these are triggers. I'm going to talk about these at some point. Tonight, I wanted to talk about what was fair, but I had to also say during the conversation on my coaching call, I'm not responsible for how I trigger you if I don't know. If I don't know, I don't know. And holidays are triggering for Dwayne because this is probably tradition for him growing up, and his family has holiday traditions, and every family is all around each other, and his children are, where they need to be. They're not where they don't get to partake in the process. That's serious. Do you know how many men commit suicide who are alienated from their children during the holiday season? It's time to pray, people. It's time to pray. We should go to the summons, CC, unapologetic. Yes, that's what my husband was getting at. I'm going to give you a tidbit. This weekend, I am going to take you guys through some serious healing and deliverance. We're going to minister, I'm going to teach, and then we're going to pray. And I am teaching on breaking the curse of illegitimacy. That's what I'm teaching on this weekend, because illegitimacy will cause us to lay with a man who we knew wasn't it anyway. Illegitimacy will cause us to marry a woman who we know wasn't the acceptable kind in the first place. Feeling illegitimate makes us want to be wanted and needed. And we have to let this go. Cher, yeah, I know. Cher said, I went to the conference. Cher, which one? Were you at both sessions or just the I don't even know which one you were at, to be honest with you. CC, I want to see you in Dallas. I want to see you this weekend. I minister on Saturday. I would love to see you there. 21 fathers commit suicide every week. My husband's looking it up. That's it. He becomes producer too. So number 4, accept help from others. Number 4 is accept help from others. Stop acting as if you don't need. You were at the last one. Okay. Oh, you saw the forgiveness. She saw the forgiveness one. Accept help from others. I want to say this in the most tactful way possible. When accepting help from others, what I need for you to do is not just to accept help the way you want them to help, but accept people and the help that they're offering in the tools and the power and the strength that they have to give you. And when you do that, you have to listen to how they can help you. The client that we're talking about, he wasn't listening. He wasn't listening. He wasn't listening to how we could help him. Now he has someone who can get it unraveled and do all that, but he wasn't listening, so we couldn't help him. We couldn't help him. You have to listen. When people say, I want to help you, and here's how I can help, but then you say, no, but I need you to help this way. You are cutting them off at the knees. They didn't say they could help that way. I can help by providing you this. Well, no, I need money. They didn't say they had money. I can help by giving you a ride there. No, I need money, because a lot of you keep saying you need money. You have to be very clear and listen to how people can help you. And if they're not the person to help in this season, be willing to tell them that. But you have to accept help. Judges and attorneys should be listening to this so they can really do what's best for the children instead of being corrupt and greedy, or corrupt by greed. I'm sorry. Yes, not all judges and attorneys are corrupt. There are some who get it. Depends on the county, depends on the state. They're all different, trust me. And I recognize that enough to be able to maneuver with certain judges and attorneys in helping us get fathers to the end goal. Some of you fathers come to me and it's one situation, and by the time we're getting you in court, it's like 10 different situations. And I can only help you with the one I promised you I could. Can't help you with all 50 that you now got going on because mama done violated. That's not what we promised we would help you with. We want to get you to the end so you can have either a final order or your contempt can then be seen and then enforced. We want to work with you on certain levels. I can't help with everything because we're asking attorneys to do things low bono, pro bono, and I can't have them help all of your case. So I need you to listen to even me when I'm saying this is how I can help. That's what I want you to do. Oh, Becca said, be careful who you accept help from. Yeah, not everyone is really trying to help. Exes like to use the other people to gain intel. That's a good one. I wish others would offer to help me. I guess I don't know what you need help with, Adrian. And that's the other thing. If you're going to accept help from others, you got to be willing to communicate what you really need help with. Suicide rates among alienated men are underreported. I alone have known 10 men who we lost in the last year. Yeah, I've known 6. This needs to stop. I almost lost my son. And as far as I'm concerned, all men are my sons. That's a message. Let me see what Colin said here. Oh, let me go here before we because I want to get to number 5. I don't want to keep answering all these questions too. I want to answer your questions, but I got to make sure I get my points. Number 5, understanding control. How do you understand control? Let me just give it to you. Because when you understand control, what this means is you understand that you don't have control over everything. You understand that there are some things in life that you can't control. And so when you understand control, you understand that. And you live in a positive space, even in the midst of things not going your way, even in the midst of things being unfair. And you can live in a place of hope and positivity because no, I don't have control over everything. And life is unpredictable, but I can ride this wave. I can ride this wave. I can't make it stop, but I can actually make the wave work for me, and I can make the wave potentially work against the other person. Sometimes I watch clients get stuck in, I've been in a temporary order, and some have been too long. I have one client, he's been in temporary order way too long. But there are others who are like, I'm in a temporary order and it's been 3 months. Allow that temporary order to prove whether or not she is an alienator or he is an alienator. Hold on, I want to pull this down. I'm sorry. Yeah, you need to allow the temporary order to prove whether or not this person is really doing what you say they're doing. That gives the courts an opportunity to see their personality. These judges don't know you guys. These attorneys don't know you. Allow things to work for you. I know Cher is saying she's becoming a single mom, and it wasn't what she wanted. It wasn't what she expected. It wasn't the plan that she had for herself. But now she can use that wave and momentum to minister and help others walk through it once she's healed. Growing up fatherless, I didn't think this was a thing. It was normal to me. Now I get to help other people navigate this storm. Colin said, I'm 32. I've been fighting to be in my children's life since I was 22. Jesus. My children's mother is an entitled woman that showed me those truths since I joined the Army. She thought she could get a payday. And I'm sorry to say, this is a strong racial issue among Black women. Don't be sorry about any of that. You're saying what you're saying. 70% of Black women do not have a father in their household. And it is because the democratic states that afford women incentives. I'm not going to go into whether I feel like it was democratic or not. I'm going to go into the fact that I know that those things were, because everybody has a different party and affiliation. I don't. I'm the wrong person to put in a party. If you go to my personal page, you will see that I'm not loyal. I vote Democratic, Republican, and Libertarian. So as I say, I'm their worst nightmare. I'm the swing voter. But I recognize that fatherlessness was a craft It was designed. It was formulated to hinder and harm Black families. And now we're generations into this thing. We're generations into it. And how do we turn it around when it worked so well for African Americans? And now it's enveloped other cultures and races of people and gotten more money out of them. I can recognize that. I've read enough literature on it. I've read enough books about it. The Case for the Negroes, the Moynihan Report. I've read enough about it. So I get what you're saying. It's an incentive. But women also, I guess I'm going to ask, she thought she could get a payday. What signs didn't you see that she was just looking for a payday? I have said this on this live before, and I'll say it again. I've sat in rooms with women, and one woman in particular who said a father is an interruption to her parenting style. Sometimes women just want to raise the child on their own so that they don't have anybody, to pass things by, or they just want to do it their way. And how about I grew up without my father, so I don't see a need for you anyway. I got this. I'm a strong woman. I'm a strong Black woman. Strong Black woman, sorry to say, it is the most dysfunctional behavior. I've actually recognized it's dysfunctional. It is not healthy to be all things to all people at all times. It is not. It is not. Dwayne says, devil won't bother you in sin, but we'll do everything he can to stop you from growing closer to God, which is true healing. Yeah. Dwayne, you dropping some gems tonight. You in sin. He won't. But then when you try to do what is right, you get beat down. All hell breaks loose. He is defeated. He is defeated. God knows the end before the beginning. That's what I need you guys to recognize. And I'm going to say this in a moment. I'm going to kind of finish with this, because when you say he's defeated and God knows the end before the beginning, that's what I need you to know. Do not give up, because God has a word for you, and there's a fall safe that is in scripture. It's the last thing he says to men and men concerning fatherhood. I'm going to go there in just a minute. So give me a second. I want to finish some of these questions. How do we prove anything if we have no proof? My daughter's father does things that I can't prove. What do you mean he does things? I don't know what that means. And so I can't speak generally to something like that. Because if he's just...
What was the question again?
How do we prove anything if we have no proof? My daughter's father does things that I can't prove.
So there's a paper trail on everything. There's got to be a paper trail on something. Everything.
Maybe it's not paper. Maybe he's just rude. Maybe he's just a jerk.
Yeah, you got a camera. You got a camera.
Well, that's why I'm asking her, what are the things? I didn't expect to be a widow with 2 kids at 26. I didn't expect to be diagnosed with cancer at 39. Even though life has been hard, get through the difficult times, but don't get stuck in how unfair it is. The moment you get stuck in how unfair it is, you lose the battle, and most likely the war. I need you not to get stuck. I need you to look at life and say, nope, it's not fair. But I'm going to identify the problem. I'm going to craft a solution. I'm going to work this plan that I've put together from crafting the solution. I'm going to accept help from those who can help me, and I'm going to listen. Hey, Elder Marshawn, I'm going to listen to how they can help me and determine if that's the right person to have in my life in this season to help me. And then understanding, number 5, that control is, I can't control everything. Sometimes things just happen for no rational reason. And I'm going to accept the responsibility for the things that are under my control and influence, but I'm not going to accept anything else. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I try to control every single thing and get upset when I can't. So Adrian is saying neglect. Adrian, that's still a little too vague. Inbox me. Becca said, LOL, Varg, I had a lot of practice swimming through the storms. I could be an Olympic swimmer, she says. I want to say this to fathers who are dealing with this, and I want you to recognize that the No. I'm trying to figure out the right word. The win. The way to win, the thing you need to stand on, the thing you need to hold on to, the thing you need to use to fight is Luke 1:17, where God says that the spirit of Elijah will come, and he, that spirit, will turn hearts of fathers back to their children. There's a season when your heart's supposed to be turned back to your children. And when that season comes, that means the door will open. Because then your children will also have their hearts turned back to you. But what you've got to do in the meantime, in between time, is you've got to do your work to heal. And you've got to take responsibility for the part you played. Because I can go back to what Colin said. Colin said, I knew the signs when I was 19 too, but I was a child. I was a child too back then. And I was told at 20, you're going to deploy when you get to your next unit. Either you get married or risk your life of not seeing your child before you deploy. So he was given a gunshot wedding. He was given a threat in order to do this, and he knew it was wrong. But the ungodly counsel, I'm gonna put it like that, the ungodly counsel around him led him down a path where he is now, not only did he it says either you get married or risk your life, risk your life of not seeing your child before you deploy. Now he's no longer even deployed. He's not there. And so now he can't see his children or his child. He made a decision. And that's what life does. It hands you decisions. Right. And you have to pick one. Man. And picking one sometimes is like rolling the dice. Especially at 19, you don't know anything. You know nothing. And so I'm not blaming you. I just want that's the identifying the problem. That's where Colin just went right there. That's identifying the problem. He's now looking at the root of it and like, okay, I made some decisions. And those decisions have me here. Now, what is my solution going to be to this? He's been fighting for 10 years, you guys. Please keep Colin in your prayers. I believe prayers work. That's positive words, words of encouragement, all of that. People feel that. People feel that. You can feel the power of prayer. Trust me, I have seen it. And I've seen it. But I want you guys to recognize, and Colin, I'm giving you that scripture. And trust me, if you're not a person of faith in that way, there are other quotes that I can give you that line up with that too. But there's a season when their hearts are going to be open, and your heart is going to be open, and you will be reunited with your children. I speak that right now in the power of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, the one who spoke it in his word. He says that he is not going to allow his word to come back to him void. Solution is not more money, more problems. No, said Biggie Smalls. In that situation, I think that's what it felt like. Of course, I thank you for the sense of humor in the midst of you telling your story. I appreciate you sharing it, but I need you to know our God is not slack about his promises. It may seem like it takes a long time, but what's the work that you're supposed to be doing in the meantime? What's the work you should be doing on yourself in the meantime when life isn't fair, when you've been dealt a really bad hand? So that's what I have for you guys tonight. I am grateful for the dialogue and the conversation and the full-on engagement. I saw some people jump on from Periscope giving me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope at this point, and I am so grateful. Oh, Colin said that's his daughter's profile. Hey, see, look at here. Look who jumped on. Jarius. Faith without works is dead.
Remember when you said, and this is just before you get off, I don't want to hold you in your, you was telling me something at one point, the punishment for people who mess with the fatherless child. It might have been in that book right there.
It
was just for those people who are hindering fathers.
My favorite book.
Hindering fathers from getting to their kids. It was a punishment.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no.
To be honest with you. Oh, yeah. That's the scripture.
Yeah, it was
There's a scripture. Mm-hmm. I have to remember that one. I think it's in Deuteronomy, though.
Yeah, it was when you were studying Deuteronomy.
It's in Deuteronomy.
That's what it was.
There is.
Messing with the fathers.
You want to hand me my Bible? Maybe I can see it. Because you guys, there is. When I tell you, this is not. That's why I asked on my personal page recently. Does God define fatherlessness the same way that we do?
You want me to talk to the crowd while you search for it?
No, I don't. You don't even have your hat on.
I don't need my hat on.
You mess it up. See, he's a distraction, you guys. This is why I don't like working at home. He is such a distraction. But I'm trying to remember because it's in Deuteronomy. Vark is right. God isn't playing with us. How does he define fatherless? He defines it as an orphan. He defines it as someone whose father has died. He defines it as someone who doesn't have a parent, who's living. So when we say we're the father, he's a father to the fatherless, is he really talking about us? Does he really want us to have a relationship with our fathers? I'm going to tell you yes. I'm going to tell you yes. Because I'm looking at all the places I've highlighted here really quickly. I'm going to see if I can find it before I jump off of here. I did a full on, I don't highlight too much, but I do underline and stuff in my Bible. And I'm trying to remember the punishment of those who mess with the fatherless. Because when I read it, I was like, whoa. And those who mess with justice, there's not a good place for you. So ladies who are listening, who are using the children as pawns, men who are listening, who are using the children as pawns, you may feel like you're winning now, but you're not. It's in Deuteronomy. I'm sure of that. I'll have to post it later, you guys. Just look for a comment to come up later. Corey said, "Wait, is Varg preaching?" No, he. I don't know if he preaching. I don't know. He in the background. Jerry C said he wants an unconditional relationship, just like fathers desire an unconditional relationship with their kids. Absolutely. And Becca says, y'all just remember there's always hope. And that's what I wanted to get at. There's always hope. I'm going to get off of here. This is what happens every Tuesday night when my day is long. I haven't eaten dinner. I'm probably not going to. I'm going to eat a snack of some sort and take myself to bed. But you guys have an amazing night. I pray that this was something that helped bring you some clarity and give you some opportunities to discover where you were stuck and where you might get unstuck. You found it?
It may be in Deuteronomy, but it's also in Exodus as well.
What is it?
Exodus 22:22.
Read it. Ready? Read.
Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry.
Yeah, Deuteronomy gets a little deeper. It's more than hear their cry.
And my wealth shall wax hot.
And my wealth shall wax hot.
And I will kill you with a sword.
Okay.
And your wife shall be widows.
No. Read that loud. What is it? What happens when you do that?
And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword. And your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. That's
a message. We need to talk about that. That's a whole message. Yeah, it's in Deuteronomy too, but that's the same thing. Yeah, that's the same thing. So my husband just gave you some weird hope. He gave you the wrath of God in a sense, but it's the heart of God is what I want you to hear, that God does not want his children fatherless, period. Good night, Dwayne. Jerry said, take care. I'm going back to TikTok land. Is that where you are? I'm on TikTok. You better find me, Jarius. I haven't seen you in a moment. Thank you for allowing me to hear myself complain. I'm a new member, but I'll start following more often. Thanks, Colin. I appreciate you joining us. Make sure you guys go to the ladies' room and the men's room. Join those group. Ladies, I'm coming. I promise you. I'm just trying to get the men situated so I can then get you situated. If you need coaching, if you need some fatherless coaching, if you feel like Healing Tuesday is really helping you, but you want to dig deeper, go to beyondfatherless.com. That's where you can actually sign up to do a 30-minute free assessment with me to see, if I can help you in any way, where you may be stuck. Maybe I can help get you unstuck as your coach. And if you need more than a coach and a therapist, maybe I have someone in your area I can refer you to. And for those of you who have seen some of the posts lately, we have an awareness ribbon. I have some of them right here on the desk. We want you to donate. We need the funds, but we've got some stuff for you. We've got t-shirts. We've got awareness ribbons. This awareness ribbon was created by another fatherless son, or by a fatherless son. I'm not a son, by a fatherless son. And he is a renowned artist. He has a new art exhibit in Atlanta and in Chicago, but he allowed us to use it to cut out the awareness ribbon. And it shows the intricacies of the challenges that we've had throughout our journeys. And that's why it looks the way that it looks. Somebody asked that question earlier. And go to the website. There's t-shirts. We have merch. We have merch. When you buy the merch, we're able to continue to do what we're doing. I am not in Atlanta right now. We'll be in Atlanta next week, but we are in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm in Fort Lauderdale. This is where we reside at this point because of COVID. We spend all of our time here now. I thought we'd be in Atlanta part of the time, but we are here in Fort Lauderdale enjoying the beach. And then I will be in Dallas. Those of you who are near Dallas, come hear this message. Come get some encouragement and some healing. I'll be in Dallas. The conference starts on Friday night. Then I minister Saturday afternoon, and then there's the pastors are ministering on Sunday, and then I will be back in Fort Lauderdale on Monday, and we will head to Atlanta for a few days. Becca says I'm gonna have to get me some merch. Please do. I look forward to talking to you guys next week. I'm trying to put everything together. You see more posts, especially go to Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, people. We have a lot of posts going on over there, and I will talk to you guys later. I know, Corey, I hate it too. We up the street from each other, so we're going to see you guys soon. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.